friends. Welcome to Transcendence Talks podcast. Today, I am here with my very good friend, Christopher LaPrath. He is a psychic medium. He has an amazing book called Trestle Creek, The Things the Dead Fear. He's been featured on Gaia, and he has his own TV series coming out where he's giving readings to people on TV, readings and healings. And it's going to be called Beyond the Veil on Spark TV with Christopher LaPrath. So welcome, friend. Thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thanks, Kristy. It's my honor to be here.
Yeah. I have to share a quick story before you and I jump into this, because for the audience listening who doesn't know exactly the level of attunement that you have to the people that you're connected with, my gosh, I was walking through the airport the other day, a few weeks ago, and I had gotten some really bad news 5 minutes prior. And I look at my phone. This news had come in through a text message, and you're calling my phone, and you're telling me, "Oh my gosh, what is going on? What's going on? I know something just happened, and take me through this healing in the airport." Like, you were that connected that within 5 minutes of me receiving this news, you're on the phone with me, helping me process it. I mean, just incredible gifts.
Well, thanks, Kristy. I think in many, many ways, every one of us is gifted, but some people are first graders, right? And you don't know whether a first grader is going to be a physicist, or a doctor. And so these gifts, many of us are still children in what's been on us all of our life, whether it's projections from family, from society, from, I don't know what else to call them, but darker forces as well. And then really how to clear the field for themselves and really tune into source or tune into God, however you want to call it, Christ, consciousness, that source. And then notice what's interfering. Like when things aren't working out, you go, wait a minute, what's going on here? Which way do you want me to really go here? And it's all comes down to trust. So you can trust you're going to go, well, we live in Phoenix, right? So you can trust you're going to go to California, and you may have an idea that you're going to go cross I all the way. What if I-10 is closed? What if there's construction? Then are we open to go another way? Are we open to go through San Diego, right? Are we open to go through Las Vegas down into California? So,
Right. It's like spirit requires flexibility from us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes how badly we want it, right? Mm-hmm. But not so much want it, but how we're directed. It's letting go. So I think one of the things that I love doing is, if I kind of sometimes think of myself as a designer, where I walk into a house that was built in the 60s and I go, ooh, that shag carpet has got to go, right?
Yeah.
This is not working anymore. And so it's on my website, it's I see the unseen. So it's because what we can't see can thwart us. It can stop us. It can block us. But as to what depth and length are we willing to see it?
So let me ask you this, because what I find in my work with people is that the unseen forces that are seemingly external to us actually are all mirror images projected from something unseen inside of us. Would you agree with that statement?
Like attracts like.
Yeah.
And so I was I was a missionary, and I'd been sent to the Republic of China, where I tried to convert all the pagan Buddhists. And I was so hell-bent on trying to convert everything and everyone that I came in contact with. And it was like bashing my head against a wall over and over and over again. And then when my son was born, I went, I've got to do something different. I cannot be like this anymore. They used to call me the Crisco kid, because I would be in the middle of a sentence, I would be at a party, and I would be gone. I would be gone. And I would never even finish the sentence. And they would go, where did Chris go? And I was on this survival. I was on this fear. So if we use fear, confusion, frustration as going, there's something on us, or there's something in us that needs to come out, it's authorizing that.
Right. Carl Jung has this phrase that says, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, it rules our life, and we call it fate, right? So it's things that we're not even consciously aware of, because sometimes we don't even realize we've had trauma, or we don't even realize we have these deep, deep core beliefs. It's so integrated into our being that we don't even look at it as a belief. It's just, it becomes a lens that we see the world through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I said to you, "Hey, Christy, I can really help you, but you're going to have to cut off your right arm,
Mhm.
okay? And cutting off your right arm will really help you." There's a movie back in the 80s, I think it was called Boxing Helena, and it was about this psychiatrist that fell in love with this woman. He was a plastic surgeon. Sorry, he was a plastic surgeon. And that's what he said to her. He goes, "Hey, you'll be even more beautiful if you cut off your right arm." So he cuts off her right arm. And then he ends up cutting off her left arm. Then ends up cutting off her legs, and he keeps her in a box. Okay, the whole movie is horrifying, but it's a
Yeah, that's dark.
metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay, it's absolutely a metaphor. It's really kind of a horror movie, but in a way, it's where a lot of belief systems are like people's right arm. Okay, one of my belief systems was, as in the church, that if you celebrated Christmas, you would be eternally damned. Now that sounds ridiculous, but I bought it hook, line, and sinker. But it's no different than a little girl growing up being told you're ugly, or
Right.
you're stupid, or a little boy, right? It's the same thing. And so when these belief systems get in there, they're the actual control systems. So what I've learned that I'm really good at after 69 years, took me a while,
Yeah, that's okay.
took
We
me a
have
while,
eternity to figure it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it took me a while, but it's like I see these patterns, and it's just the way I've actually had my brain examined by a neuroscientist,
Wow.
but I see these patterns, and it's a little bit like the Matrix. When Neo, in the movie The Matrix, there's these like lines of computer code. It's
Yeah.
a little bit like that, right? But sometimes, or I have a client up in Montana that has this amazing fishing business. Like, she brings in people from all over the world. And it's like when you get your fishing line tangled, she and I were talking about this. It's like where there are these entanglements. They're called entanglements, energetic entanglements from our parents, from our family, from society, from church,
Yep.
right? And now I look back on it and I go, oh my God, I could have had a V8 rather than tomato juice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I'm drinking this tomato juice all my life, but I could have had a V8. And now I have a V8, right? And
Yeah.
I can help other people have a V8.
Well,
And I'm not a spokesman for V8.
and I feel like God, the universe, whatever you want to call source energy, brings us these experiences in our lives sometimes and says, "Hey, here's this person, here's this situation. It's going to be difficult, but I'm bringing it into your life so that you can meet that unconscious aspect of yourself, bring light to it, make it conscious into your awareness so that you can adopt a different belief, so you can shed these old beliefs that you were taught." Because it's really these stories that we make up about these beliefs that make them so true for us. These stories bind us to these belief systems like spells. And until we become aware that we tell ourselves these things over and over again and just reinforce them, and there's this reticular activating system even in our brain that once we hear the story long enough, we start looking externally for circumstances to validate the very thing we're looking for. I mean, it's like when you want to go buy a blue sedan and then all you see are the same blue sedans because your reticular activating system is set. So it's almost like we're designed to be stuck in these cycles or loops. So, how do you work with people to bring awareness to these things so that we can start changing them?
Well, I always check, with people to see if they're ready and they're willing and they're able and they're safe. So the number one priority is they have to feel safe. So I'll just talk about myself, where my safety circuits were blown. So I don't know, if I celebrated Christmas, or I, took a blood transfusion, I would be condemned by God. So my eternal life was entangled with this belief system. So I wasn't just, you know, when I started to celebrate Christmas, I realized I wasn't going to be struck dead.
Yeah.
So this is where you've got to do baby steps, but you've also got to do so. Everybody hears uh, mind, body, spirit medicine, and they put more emphasis on the spirit, but it's also the body and the brain. Because let me ask you this: how many times did you blink yesterday?
Who knows?
How many
Yeah.
times did your heart beat? You know, that's all controlled by the 88% of the brain that actually does the controlling. And what my forte is I'm able to see these belief systems that are actually running the system, that are in the same area of the brain as the blinking and the heartbeat and the blood pressure, all of that, right? Those are all unconscious patterns. Our blinking, our heartbeat, and all the other bodily functions that we have, they're all part of that automatic system that just runs automatically. So when I say to somebody, hey, there's an abuse issue with you growing up, and that's why you've been married to this abusive person, and they're like, no. To them, sometimes it's like cutting off their right arm, right? That belief system can be so ingrained. So there's this willingness if they're willing. And I only will work with willing people, because if they're not willing, they'll get angry. There'll be backlash.
Well, healing asks something from you. Not your right
Yeah,
arm, but I mean,
right.
and change asks for you to leave something behind. And so you're right. If safety is not established, they're not ready to leave anything behind. They're grasping on to everything, hands clenched. And I think the other component to that is if you don't have that illicit consent and say, are you willing and able and ready to change? They look at you as the healer. They look at you as the one doing the work for them. And then they don't take responsibility. And I don't think that's
Yes.
helpful either. It's like, not, we can't, nobody can heal us if we're not willing. And so many people give their power away to all these systems of control. And as healers, I think you and I are both really clear, really, it's an inside job. And somebody can make
Yeah.
you aware of these systems, but ultimately it's the person that we sit across from that has to be responsible to do the work.
I feel a little bit like that person at the airport. When you get off the plane and you're disoriented, it's a new airport. Where am I? Where do I go? And they're like, oh, gate B4 is over there. Gate
Yeah.
10F is there. And they can point and direct. And that's a little bit, I can help people go where they want to go,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's like when I met my teacher, I knew I couldn't live like this anymore. I didn't want to raise my son with me being the Crisco kid, with me wanting to run out every 10 minutes, because I was in so much fear. I was in this fear mode. And I was raised in a haunted house in northern Idaho. And when I joined the religion, it explained it to me. Oh, good, evil, good, evil. But it's not like that. But it gave me a space to go, oh, this is how I can get away from evil. But it was actually the opposite. It was moving me more into the darkness.
Yeah.
It's like, does that make sense?
Completely, completely. So just to kind of break it down for the listeners, just because I know your history, and you and I had a very similar upbringing in many ways. My dad was a drug addict. There were volatile mood swings. It was very unsafe and unpredictable. And I became very hyper vigilant as a result, constantly scanning for other people's moods. Maybe if I can just be good enough or perfect enough or quiet enough or not have needs enough, that we'll have peace, right? Which was never true. Um, and I grew up in a haunted house as well. Although it was very interesting because when my dad moved out, things didn't get calm right away. But my mom redid the interior of the house. She redid the carpet. She painted the walls. She got some new furniture. And it was like it ushered out some of the energy imprint that went with my dad, and the whole dynamic of the house shifted. I didn't feel like I was being watched. I finally felt safe in the house and realized how connected those entities were to my dad's anger and addiction. And that brought me a lot of awareness about darkness. And I also kind of wonder if that's really what brought on some of my gifts of being able to also see some of the unseen realms. Do you conceptualize your upbringing that way too? I mean, just it was necessity.
Well, there's some people that come to this earth, and I'm going to liken it to school, even though that's a very simplistic way of doing it. But there's some people here that come here to just do sixth grade. There's some people here that want to come do high school, but For some people, they want to do this doctoral program, okay?
Yeah.
And no, like I thought there was something wrong with me for
Mm.
so many years because I would see these things, I would experience these things, and then I would go, oh, then I could categorize them devil, God. But it was not that. Is when I went to this neuroscientist and he actually examined my brain. And when I did all these tests, he comes out and he goes, okay, he said, how much LSD do you take every day? And I went, what are you talking about? I go, I can barely have a glass of wine. I said, why would you ask me that? He goes, because most people's neurons fire one direction. He goes, yours fire both directions all the time, like somebody that's on LSD. And you and your son's parietal lobe is at over 200% above what's normal. Now,
Whoa.
everybody's brain is like a fingerprint. Nobody's brain is the same, right? So I had, to somewhat extent, some natural ability, but then I like signed up for this Stephen King novel on steroids, right? In this house that we lived in the woods in northern Idaho, with a dad that was possessed, and I saw things that were inexplicable. But most people go, oh, I don't want to see that. But when they say they don't want to see that, they're also shutting down that area of the brain where they do see angels and guides and Christ. And do you know what I mean?
I do.
It's like ordering something on Amazon and only getting half the package. It doesn't happen.
No. Well, and it's the same thing in psychology. I mean, as a therapist, I watch clients come in and they shut themselves down all the time, right? Like I'm in a difficult marriage or I'm having this really hard experience, so I'm going to take my emotions and suppress them and numb. You can't just numb the depression and the bad feelings. You also numb the joy and the love and the excitement and the passion for life. So I think whether we're talking about, as above, so below, as without, so within. Everything exists in a spectrum. And unfortunately, we can't just stop looking at the bad without interfering with our positive emotions or seeing angels, right?
Well, exactly. And these energies they're energies, they're vibrations or frequencies. And it's what people are calling in. It's like they can change their radio station for a while, but then they end up turning it back, to going backwards. So there are people that really want to move forward, but you can always go back. You can always go back. But the problem with going back is you're always going to know that you could have been way ahead
Yeah.
with your progress, with your belief systems, and use these difficulties because everyone has difficulties, everyone has challenges to go, wait a minute, what is this? What is behind this? What is causing this? Rather than focusing on the difficulty, which then causes it to continue to repeat.
Right.
Go, wait a minute, and have the courage to go, okay, I'm done with this. Like I don't care what it takes. So I left the religion. I was challenged with when I left the religion, no one would talk to me. They practice abandonment. If you leave the religion, no one ever speaks to you again. So these are people of 25, 30 years that never spoke with me again. So I cut all that off. I cut off my marriage, right?
Yeah.
Because it was bad. It was really bad. And I was done sticking with the fear that I was comfortable with and ready to move into the fear of the unknown because it was so much more open.
Wow. And how
And
uncomfortable is that in between when you know that what the life you're living isn't meant for you anymore, but you don't know what's next? I mean, that in and of itself is this phase of healing that people don't talk about. That in
it's
between.
chaos. Yeah, it's chaos. It's dissipation of structure.
Yeah.
It's horrific. So Prigogine won the Nobel Prize back in the 80s. He was a physicist, and he studied the dissipation of structure. And long story short, he went down to Brazil and he studied these brown beetles that lived on a brown log. And when you hit the log, the beetles went nuts, right? They went into chaos. And when they landed on flowers or trees or leaves, they turned the color of the flower, they turned the color of the leaf, they turned the color of whatever they landed on. So that dissipative structure created a whole new structure, right?
Yep.
So it's horrible. Like
Yeah.
this dissipation of structure, it is. I tell some of my clients, okay, go to Walmart or Target and buy all the pillows on sale because you're going to be screaming into every one of them. It's that visceral. It can be that. It doesn't have to be. I can speak for me.
Hmm.
right? Very visceral. It was very hard to leave this religion because not only my family and friends and everything was tied up in that, but also this wiring for years and years that this had to do with my eternal life.
Yeah. And did you know what your beliefs were? I mean, after that dissipation of structure, where you say, well, I know it's not this, but were you grounded into some kind of other belief system when you left?
No, 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 no. That's the thing is like,
Yeah.
there's no, it's this separation, right? That people are really, you come into this enlightenment, you
Mhm.
come into this knowing, you come into this space. It's an expansion. And I've just set the intention of going every day, I'm willing to expand into that expansion. And there's air, there's breath. But so many people are agoraphobic, right? They're afraid. They're afraid to leave their bedrooms or their houses, and I'm talking metaphorically,
Sure.
right? But it's what keeps people trapped. It's what keeps people repeating lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And I think I've done this enough now over several lifetimes to go, okay, I came here to get it this time and to help as many people as I possibly can that are ready, willing, able, and safe to do it
Yeah.
and to help them be safe.
I call it dying while we're alive. And I feel like it's a necessary art is how do you shed, how do you release, how do you kind of get right with your soul and find some sort of reconciliation before you actually die. I feel like we're doing that work now embodied, where so many people wait till they're disembodied to finally do that work. And I think that's the work that kind of propels the expansion of consciousness in the collective forward as well, the work that you're doing with people, because I firmly believe that the work you do with people has a ripple effect. Because if they're in the energy of expansion and self-awareness, it's going to create dissipation in the people around them. It will destabilize those relationships, their jobs, those experiences, usually in a way that looks really negative before something positive comes from it, but it is deeply uncomfortable. And
Oh, yeah.
and we die 1,000 times in this life.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's so necessary for if you're wanting to grow,
Yeah.
just breathe, and it's gradual. So when I do a session with people, I tell them, give this a week, give this 6 months, give everyone's going to be a little bit different, and it every time comes back. I read for this woman years ago. She comes in and she wanted to know if she was going to keep her job or she should keep her job. It was a Saturday, and she goes, I already have my letter. I'm going to submit it on Monday to quit. I said, well, you're pregnant. And she's like, no, I'm not. I went, yeah, you are. It's a little girl and she's going to be premature. She's like, I would know if I am pregnant. I know my own body. I am not pregnant. I went, yes, you are. She goes, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. She leaves. She calls me 7 months later. She goes, oh my God, I found you. I found your card. I want you to come read for all my whole family. I go, who is this? She's like, well, it's Amanda. And I was pregnant. I left the store, got a pregnancy test, and it was a little girl, 2 months premature. But I saw the child, like I knew. But my point is, she wasn't willing to see it right then. She got mad at me because I never answered her question about whether she should quit her job or not, which is what she came for. But in a way, it did answer her question because she didn't quit her job. And she's one of the heads of a huge 1,000 people now with the company that she started, she was with 15, 20 years ago. She's a head executive, but she didn't quit her job. And good thing, because she had huge, it would have cost her hundreds of thousands of dollars to save the baby and herself because it was premature. So she had great insurance.
Wow.
So, Kristy, what I love about like the work you and I do and the work that I like, the people that I've read for in the past year are just amazing. Like they have amazing gifts, but they don't know it. So the one reason I love what I do is like Christmas for me every day. It's like looking at a Christmas tree and going, oh, hey, you missed those 10 presents that are behind the tree that have your name on them, right? People don't realize how gifted they are.
How did you come into your knowing? Like, I mean, there must have been a time when maybe you questioned what you knew. How did you step into trusting with all your heart that you know what you know?
That's a great question. Okay. So if I say to you, Kristy, I really don't like the clothes that you wear. Psychology 101. I'm really simplifying this, right? Psychology 101 is like, I'm actually not liking the clothes I'm wearing.
Sure. It's a projection.
Yeah. But the opposite is true. Like if you look at people and you see something that is beautiful or like amazing, if you can see past the ugliness that they've surrounded themselves with, whether that's their horrible upbringing, whatever it is, you go, wait a minute, there's something with this person. And I started to, I don't know, like years ago it started, I was like at a restaurant and the waitress was, and I'm like, who's that girl with this waitress? Like, why is this girl following this waitress around? And I go, wait a minute, who is this? And this woman said, well, I'm her sister that died, and you need to tell her about the Barbie dolls we used to play with. So I said to the waitress, I said, your sister's here. And it's not, I didn't give a rat's butt. Okay. I didn't give a rat's butt about what other people thought. Like
Yeah.
it's losing the ego. You don't really care what people think. And I didn't care what she thought. I just didn't care. I was like, she's talking about how you and her played Barbies and for you to get back into fashion. And she started bawling because she had the application to get back into beauty school, into cosmetology, and she hadn't finished it. So that was her like confirmation. So it's like a mosaic, and I think this is for everybody. Is you give them a little piece of the puzzle, give them a little, and let them put it together like this mosaic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are senses that are just now being discovered every week. They discover new scientific senses that we have besides sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste, right?
Yeah.
There are these senses they discovered like electromagnetism, right? Like when the sun has the sunburst, they can tell where that energy is going to hit the earth and what time it's going to hit the earth. So they started using closed circuit TV, and they realized that 10 minutes before this energy wave would hit, the beaches would clear, the streets would clear, people would go inside, have coffee, go inside, have a meal, right? Leave the beach, and then the energy would hit, but these people would know that they, on some level, that they needed to go in and shelter. And this is what I love about Christmas is not so much the gifts I'm getting, but watching what everyone else is getting. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love. And that's how I began to discover it. It wasn't like anything overnight. It was, and the thing too is I was free of the need of validation.
Yeah.
So if everyone on the show that's watching later on, sending you lots of this indigo ray that I use, transformation, but free of the need for validation. It's okay to have validation,
Yeah.
but when there's this need for validation, then you're constantly looping in, not actually coming into your gifts because you're not getting the validation because you want the validation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
It totally makes sense. I mean, the way you describe how you came into your gifts, it's so sweet and pure. Like that imagery of a kid on Christmas just watching the other kids open their gifts, like watching their siblings, like, oh my gosh, look, they got that truck that they've always wanted. I mean, it's so sweet and so endearing. It's just I know for me when my gifts feel the strongest, it's like when that person sitting across from me feels like they're the only person in the room and they're the only person that matters, as if we're the only two people on earth. And it's like this love that feels like bigger. It's different than romantic love. It's just this love for their humanity and to see their soul the way that maybe I imagine Christ would see their soul, and that's really when I feel the strongest in those gifts.
Right. Exactly.
It's a purity.
Yeah. And
Mm,
to me, I was going to look this up before the show because I wanted to use this illustration about how many insects there were on the earth, how many different kinds. Okay, there's millions, right?
yeah.
There's millions of different kinds of insects. You guys can look it up. But my point of this is there are millions of different creatures that are around us in the spirit realm, just like there are millions of different species of animals, of fish, of insects, bacteria, virus. There are that many within these other dimensions. We only see 1/10 of 1% of what's on the electromagnetic spectrum. Like our sight is very limited.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it's like the brain loves questions or puzzles. So even if you're watching this, go, how can I expand my vision? How can I expand my possibility? Just keep asking that
Yeah.
because demands like expand my vision. The brain doesn't really know what that means. But if you go, how can I expand this? Then it begins to open up all the possibilities.
Yeah, like it's in the question. That question, almost like the question opens up new potentials of reality, new awarenesses.
And I was so afraid too when I was making these shifts. There's a lot of fear.
Well, especially growing up in a haunted house. I mean, when your childhood is just overshadowed by seeing things out of the corner of your eye, or maybe even more overt than that, right? I mean, how do you move past the fear and go, oh, there's more than just these scary things? How do you not shut your gifts down at some point? Or did you?
Oh, I did. That's why I
Mhm.
joined the religion. That's
Yeah.
absolutely why I joined the religion, right?
Hmm.
Now, I
Hmm.
wrote this book. I had really, really opened up to it, but I didn't have the. So I had the spirituality, but I didn't have the brain or body to match it. Does that make sense? Like I had
Yeah,
nowhere
like
to. I had nowhere,
coherence.
yeah. So that's why I always encourage people to go to college, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe not go to college, go to trade school, go take classes because it builds your brain, right? Do
Mhm.
puzzles,
Yeah.
do things that expand your brain so that when these things and you and I know that when people begin to have these experiences, which I really believe we're in a major evolution, like people are jumping, right?
Yeah. Quantum
People are
leaps.
jumping, yep, that they have somewhere to hang it
Mhm.
rather than the left side or logical brain because we're moving into fields that are not logical. There's no logic to it, or it's just undiscovered science, right? That's really what miracles are, or
Mhm.
metaphysical. It's just undiscovered science.
And it's always been here. It's always been here. I have a belief that the divine feminine aspects have been repressed. I mean, mysticism has been divorced from religion for a long time, but that's what Christ did. And I believe that him and Mary Magdalene really uh, had complete unity between the feminine and the masculine, that they were able to come into perfect coherence or alignment with that within themselves and each other, like in divine union. And I think that that's what we're doing now, is bringing the feminine back into our lives. It's not just been repressed in women, it's been repressed in men. It's not been safe for men to feel their feelings, to be heart centered, to channel. It hasn't been safe for women to do that. So men have had to harden and women have been repressed. And I feel like our society is coming back into Christ's divine blueprint. And I want to take Christ out of religion for a minute. Just
Yeah,
Christ as
right.
a being, right? Who had this evolution of self mastery that created inner divine union or hieros gamos. And I believe that that's the evolution of unity consciousness that we're stepping into as a collective now. And I think that's the second coming of Christ, is that union within ourselves and then harmony on our planet.
Right. And I think
Hmm.
that's why it's so important.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's why this podcast for you is so important to help other people hear or understand. It's a very important one.
Yeah. Let's speak to the community part, because when we have these experiences, sometimes we feel like we're losing our damn minds. It can be scary when you start having experiences that maybe other people haven't had or don't know how to conceptualize, because religion will say, well, that's evil, so don't listen to that voice, or and we shut our intuition down. And so I feel like these conversations are critical, because they could either be dismissed or misunderstood without proper context and integration of these experiences, meaning we bring these experiences into our nervous system and find healing as a result. Because when we get messages from spirit, it doesn't just help the person across from us, it helps us too. I notice spirit tends to piggyback, and when we're giving a message to somebody else, there's usually a little nugget that we needed to hear too. Um, so there's a lot of healing potential. And it's like when people don't have a framework for something in their reality, they dismiss it. I can't even tell you how many times I've talked to people. I remember going to Nebraska one time. There's like nothing but corn. in Nebraska. I think there's more corn than there are humans. It's weird. I was like flying over, looking down. I'm like, I just see crops. It's so weird. And so I was talking to people about these like ET type experiences I've had where I've seen crafts come down, manifest, and just dematerialize before my eyes, only to appear somewhere else in the sky uh, immediately. And they'll tell me, oh, well, yeah, I've seen that living in Nebraska all the time. And I was like, whoa, cool. And they're like, well, I didn't really think much of it because I didn't know how to explain it. And so we just dismiss what we don't understand, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of the fail safe of the brain,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I only work with, like you say, I work with people that are ready and willing to look at some of these things that aren't them, and they understand if I say, hey, you need to cut off your right arm, they know I'm not talking literally, but they feel safe enough to go, well, you're right. This really doesn't fit me anymore, right? So
Yeah.
they can let go of that feeling that it's become really attached to them. And sometimes there are, when we talk about all of the insects and compare that to all of the potential life in the universe,
Mm,
right? All the types of different beings, different aliens, different spirit creatures.
yeah.
This is important because these entities live a lot longer than we do, and they can actually follow families through a procession of many, many thousands of hundreds of generations and have an influence on them. I know that might be a little hard for some to grasp, but it's what I've seen. It's like the threads. The way I look at it is like the matrix can go all the way back for generations.
You know, it's not that foreign. Like when you study shamanism, despite what culture, whether that's like Nordic or, Mesoamerican shamanism, whatever, they allude to seven generations. When they do healings, like seven generations are ancestors and seven generations are posterity can be healed by one person healing. And so when we choose to be the one in the family to feel it and to remove it from our energy, we're not only healing ourselves, we're healing our lineage seven generations back and seven generations forward. So the healing goes with our families too. And yeah, it's funny because when you were talking about how you feel like you're that guy in the airport that's like, hey, turn right here, go left here, I was thinking, yeah, it's probably not an airport. It's probably more like an interdimensional space station. Because
Yeah,
whenever I've worked with you, it's not just baggage from this lifetime, it's baggage, from multiple lifetimes and in other dimensions. I mean, it's very multidimensional what you do, what I do.
there are beings that don't. We were talking about this earlier. There are beings that, I mean, you and I don't go to the bad part of Phoenix at midnight. Every city
Mhm.
has a bad part of town. You just don't, right? There are bad influences within the human. Well, there are bad influences within the spirit realm, right? And there are. I won't speak to this how I know this personally, but I had a very close family member whose voice would change, facial would change, and I can go on and on. But
Yeah.
there are these attachments that people have
Yep.
and can get, and they're not really even aware of it, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, they're like different masks that they wear.
Mhm.
And, I know I had some because I always ask people, or I always question people, go, wait a minute, when you're getting a negative thought, when you're getting into panic, when you're getting into whatever it is, can you just stop and go, wait a minute? Can you go, what is this? Rather than go, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm bad, I'm frustrated. Can you go, wait a minute, this is frustration or this
Mhm.
is sadness, and where is this coming from? And when you can just even step back, it kind of, you're not claiming it, but it can also help identify what influences is this coming from? Is
Yeah.
this an entity? Is this a family belief system?
Mm.
Is this a projection from society that I've adopted? There are many different sources it can be from.
How do you
But even
discern?
just
How do you
go ahead.
discern? Like, is this a belief system of mine, or is this an entity influencing my belief system? Because I feel like these entities can be so enmeshed in your nervous system and in your energy field that it can be very hard to discern when you're in it. Do you have any key factors for that, or
You cannot see your own stuff.
no?
As good as I am, as old as I am, I still cannot see my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's why there are very, very evolved beings that are here on this earth in the human form, these masters. I'm not talking about an elder in a church, not to say that an elder in a church can't be an evolved one, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that you have to go, wait a minute, what is going on here? And then you go, that makes perfect sense. Like you'll know, like my teacher Barb, right? You and I both know Barb.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I go to her to go, wait a minute. And I've used this before about when you go to an Italian restaurant, you and I are sitting across the table and you get spaghetti sauce on your face. You can't see the spaghetti sauce on your face, but I can,
And I hope you
you
tell
know?
me.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope you tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Go, well, wait a minute, what is this? And it becomes then this adventure. It becomes this opportunity of going, what are we seeing here? What's going on? And we're expanding, we're adding to this consciousness of the universe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I had the download the other day. It was actually just this weekend. And it was about this topic where spirit showed me in a meditation that our cells need a healthy, nutrient dense environment physically, but not only that, they need it emotionally. And if cells are in a sick environment, like let's take a gut bacteria, if it gets too many unhealthy toxins, heavy metals in your gut, it's going to attract in parasites. And the parasites cling to those heavy metals and they eat them. But now you've got a problem with parasites. And so these issues compound until you change your diet or change your behavior or alleviate stress from your life or detox. And what spirit showed me is it's not only introducing parasites on the physical realm, it's those toxins are introducing parasites in the astral realm. So the emotional body and field works a lot like the gut bacteria, where when it gets real porous and toxic, the negative parasites or astral entities or whatever you want to call them, those spirits come in and they can feed off of that fear, off of that anxiety, and then you have a problem, right? But it's this imbalance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally.
Hmm. Well, what can people do? I mean, because I've seen it too. I mean, the same thing you're describing. I've watched clients sit on this couch and explain to me, about their addictions, and I watch their faces change. I can see the entity come in when they start talking about the addiction. Their eyes get dark, their grins change, their voices change subtly. It's interesting. I watched it growing up too. I know growing up in a house where your dad had attachments, my dad had attachments, you become very like there's a visceral reaction that I can sense in my body when someone has one. It's like, ooh, it like kind of hits me. And I'm like, I felt that. They kind of show themselves, they peek up every now and then. If somebody, I don't want to leave on a note of any fear. If somebody feels like maybe this is affecting them, what can they do? What should they do?
Well, you definitely, I would suggest like going to a, if you stepped on a nail, right?
Yeah.
You go to a medical doctor, right?
Mm.
There are people out there that you can call and go to that will help,
Hmm.
because sometimes there's contracts that people have made, like even in an unknowing way. And it could be, and again, this could be for generations where these things come from. Maybe
Hmm.
your great, 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 great grandfather made a contract of
Yeah.
some kind, you know? It's like getting tit for tat. Yes, you can have control here if I get this and this. But again, we're not focusing on the evil here because, again, you do have guides, you do have angels, you do have Christ and Buddha and all of these, whatever your belief system is, there are some very strong angels that you call in. Sometimes you need some help, like you would a doctor that has, when you have a nail in your foot,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And one of my teachers told me is if you want, this may raise some feathers here, but if you want enlightenment, you need to make a lot of money. Because if you're really wanting to travel to these sacred spots, if you're wanting to be in with these master teachers or go to these conferences, it takes money, right? And that's where in just kind of blessing everybody on watching the show, it's like there's all that energy around sometimes even the entity of money and releasing,
Interesting.
clearing, destroying, and creating the fear of money.
Yeah.
Okay.
So many people have these belief systems that money corrupts people, and it can. I believe that money is a tool, and when people amass a lot of it, it brings out more of who they are. It shows and illuminates exactly who they are. If they're charitable, they're going to be even more charitable. But if they're corrupt, they're going to be even more corrupt. Yeah.
Right. It's like water. Water will kill you,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What do they say, like drinking 2 gallons or 3 gallons a day, it'll kill you,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to mention the river you fall into, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, any tool is a technology, and technology is neutral. It's the consciousness driving that technology that determines if they'll use it for good or for not good.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything's here to show us something. And it's just
Mhm.
having the wherewithal going, maybe if no one gets anything further from the program today other than stepping back and going, wait a minute, where is this coming from? Okay. Is this really me that's feeling depressed? Right. Or if you could just label it as, okay, this is depression. Where is it coming from?
Right.
And because you're waking up. So sometimes have you ever woken up, Kristy, and go, whoa, what day is it? Where am I? What time is it? Right? When people start waking up, it can be kind of confusing.
Mhm. Yep.
And that waking up is people coming in touch with these gifts that they have. I never assume that they're going to have the gifts like I have gifts, because the universe is a huge, huge Walmart. Like, it's a universal Walmart. There's so many gifts out there,
Mhm.
they're unimaginable
Yeah.
of what people have. So I bless everybody that's watching today or that will watch to have your gifts revealed easily and comfortably, free of fear. Like, you've got this.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Well, if somebody's listening today and they're like, I want to know if there's some sauce on my face, how should they contact you? What's the best? Do you have the website address that they could go
My
to?
website's ChristopherLaPrath.com.
Okay. And we will link that in the show notes for anybody who's listening. I mean, if you are on the journey of waking up right now, like so many of us are, and you have confusion about what that means for you, please give Christopher a call. I know for me, it's helped me with ample clarity at times in my life where the path was a little bit muddy. I mean, it's like we kind of take two steps forward and one step back sometimes. And it's easy to fall back, like you had mentioned, into self doubt or fear. And so, kind of like you said before, it's almost like the information is validating. When you hear the information that comes through you, it's like, oh, yeah, something deep down inside of me knew that, but not on a conscious level. And then you get to integrate it, and it's like you get propelled ahead. I haven't really seen a medium work the way that you do, because it's like this mediumship reading, but it's a healing, an energetic clearing and healing at the same time. So it's a really powerful technique. So,
Well, thank you, dear. It's just been, our journey is just really beginning.
yeah, I believe it.
Really.
I
Yeah.
believe it, friend. But
Well,
I
you and
will
I are
link
going to
all.
be on this
Yeah.
yeah, it's called Beyond the Veil with
Mhm.
Christopher LaPrath. It'll be on a channel called Spark that'll be coming out. That was
Yeah.
really a lot of fun.
Wait till you guys see that episode too. Oh my gosh, you were doing a healing on me, and all of a sudden behind you, I see Jesus walk in, and it about dropped me to my knees in that moment. I was speechless. I started crying. I mean, it was so intense. It was a very unique experience. It was very powerful. And even today, so everybody knows, as we tried, I've noticed that whenever I'm going to talk with somebody who has something really important to say, technology gets weird. Like there's interference. And today it took us, what, an hour to be able to get the
An hour.
technology working to make this show happen. It's almost like,
My entire computer shut down, which has
yeah,
never ever done that. It's a brand new computer.
it was insane. You had a direct link to the show to come into this room to talk today. The link wouldn't work. The computer just couldn't handle it. Just, I mean, and there's no good reason for any of it.
Yeah.
It truly is phenomenal. It's like the darkness didn't really want to be called out or exposed today.
Also, the other thing too is when energy is up, right?
Mm,
It's like static electricity when you walk
yeah.
across the carpet. And sometimes it's that. Like,
Mm,
sometimes it's so strong that well, I know you've done this, like you make like lights flicker,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not that it's bad, it's just like a high intensity energy.
Well, I mean, our cells actually hold light. They hold biophotons
Yeah,
of light,
yeah,
and as we wake up, we emit more biophotons. We literally can move electricity through our bodies. I mean, it is incredible. I can't wait to
yeah,
see. I think we're on this fast track of evolution, and I can't wait to see. I mean, pretty soon we'll just be talking telepathically, having these conversations.
yeah. We will. Yeah, we
Yeah,
will.
I think so. I
But I
think so.
think this, both of us on this show, kind of maybe short circuited everything. I don't know.
Mhm.
I haven't had time to look at it, right? But it's like, huh, what is this?
I'm just
It
gonna
was
pray it
amazing.
all uploads. We just
There
need
we
this.
go.
We will. It will. It'll all be fine. So, anyways, friend, thank you so much for being on the show today. If this content resonated with you today, if you guys know somebody who could use a session with Christopher, please send it to them. I know you know somebody who can benefit from this information who's waking up and doesn't know who to turn to. So, thanks for joining us today, Chris. Thank you, friend. I love you.
Love you too. All
All
right.
right.
Bye
Until
bye.
next time.